You walk into a building on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. The moment the door opens, the smell hits you first. Rich, dark, warm, coffee roasting somewhere above you in real time. Then your eyes go up. In the center of the room, there is a copper structure, 56 feet tall. And inside, transparent tubes running along its surface, you can actually see coffee beans moving, traveling up through the ceiling, disappearing into the floors above you. You look around. No green logo anywhere. No menu board with seasonal drinks. No drive-through. No paper cups handed through a window. You take the escalator up. Floor 2, a full restaurant with fresh-baked pizza and pastries made this morning. Floor 3, baristas demonstrating a 200-year-old coffee brewing method using pressure and gravity. Floor 4, a cocktail bar. A real cocktail bar with a professional mixologist and an espresso martini on the menu. Floor 5, a rooftop terrace with views of the Chicago skyline. You are standing in a Starbucks. 5 floors, 35,000 square feet. No green logo outside. A cocktail bar on the 4th floor. And the question that should be sitting in your head right now is, how did the company that sells you a $6 drink through a drive-through window build this? The answer starts not in Chicago, not even in America. It starts in Milan, Italy in 1983, with a 30-year-old man who walked into an espresso bar and had a thought that changed everything. Howard Schultz grew up in a housing project in Brooklyn, New York. His father worked labor jobs his whole life. Truck driver, factory worker, cab driver. No benefits, no sick pay, no safety net of any kind. When Howard was 7 years old, his father broke his ankle on a job and was let go immediately. No compensation, no insurance. The family had nothing. That experience, watching his father be discarded by a system that had no use for him the moment he could not work, never left Howard Schultz. He carried it with him into everything he ever built. He was the first person in his family to go to college, worked his way into sales after graduating, eventually landed a job at a housewares company in New York, and started noticing that one small Seattle coffee company kept ordering an unusually large number of drip coffee makers. He flew to Seattle to find out why. He walked into the original Starbucks on Pike Place Market, a simple, beautiful store that sold nothing but high-quality roasted coffee beans, and felt something he had never felt in a retail environment: a genuine love for the product. Craft, authenticity. A store that existed not to move volume, but because the people running it actually cared deeply about what they were selling. He wanted in immediately. Joined the company in 1982 as Director of Retail Operations. A year later, the company sent him to Milan for a housewares trade show. And that is where the real story begins. Italy had been drinking espresso the same way for over a century. Small bars, precise shots, standing at the counter, the barista knowing your name, the same faces at the same time every morning. A ritual so embedded in daily Italian life that it felt less like a transaction and more like a daily act of belonging somewhere. What Schultz noticed in those Milan espresso bars was not the coffee. The coffee was extraordinary, but that was not what changed him. What changed him was the feeling of the room. People were not rushing. They were lingering. The espresso bar was not a stop on the way to somewhere else. It was a destination in itself. Warm, communal, personal. A place that felt like yours, even if you did not own it. Schultz had a realization that sounds simple, but was genuinely radical. Americans had two places: home and work. That was it. No third place, no public space that felt warm and personal and unhurried. No place where the staff knew your name and the other regulars were familiar faces, and you could sit without a clock running. He flew back to Seattle, convinced that this was the thing Starbucks should become. Not a coffee bean retailer, an American version of the Italian espresso bar. A third place for every person in every city. The owners of Starbucks said no. They wanted to sell beans, not experiences. Schultz left, started his own coffee shop in 1985 called Il Giornale, named after the Italian newspaper, built around the espresso bar concept he had seen in Milan. It worked immediately. In 1987, with his Il Giornale concept proving itself, he scraped together investors and bought Starbucks itself for $3.8 million. Then he rebuilt it entirely around the idea he had seen in a Milan espresso bar 4 years earlier. Here's the thing that most people never realize about Starbucks. Nothing in a Starbucks is accidental. Every single element of the experience, the smell when you walk in, the music, the lighting, the chairs, the way the menu is written, the fact that they write your name on the cup, was designed deliberately with a specific psychological purpose. Start with the smell. Starbucks stores pump the scent of coffee through their ventilation systems. The moment you are within a certain distance of the entrance, before you have seen the sign or made a conscious decision to stop, your brain has already registered the smell and begun associating it with warmth, comfort, and the reward of caffeine. The decision to walk in is often made before you are even aware you have made it. The music is chosen by a central Starbucks team for every store simultaneously. Not random, not local radio. A specific playlist designed to match the energy of the time of day, calmer in the morning, slightly more upbeat in the afternoon, and to feel familiar and comfortable without being distracting. The music creates a sonic environment that signals you are somewhere safe and pleasant. The chairs and the layout are designed around one specific goal, making you stay longer than you intended to. Comfortable seating, warm lighting, tables at angles that create semi-private spaces where you feel settled without feeling isolated. Every spatial decision is made to extend dwell time, because Schultz understood from his Milan observation that the value of the third place came from people staying, not from people cycling through. The name on the cup is the most psychologically loaded element of all. Your name, spoken out loud by a barista in a room full of strangers, is a tiny but real act of personalization in a chain of 35,000 identical stores. It makes a mass-produced experience feel individual. It creates a micro-moment of being seen in a place where you are technically anonymous. The seasonal drinks, the pumpkin spice latte, the peppermint mocha, are not just products. They are cultural events. When Starbucks launches a seasonal drink, the conversation starts without any advertising. People talk about it, post about it. The limited availability creates genuine urgency and genuine excitement around a cup of flavored coffee. This is scarcity psychology applied to a beverage. The loyalty program, Starbucks Rewards, is one of the most sophisticated in the world. Stars for every purchase, free drinks at milestones, birthday rewards, status tiers. The psychology of the program is identical to a casino loyalty system. The reward schedule is variable and unpredictable enough to create the same neurological engagement that keeps people at slot machines. You are not just buying coffee. You are playing a game where coffee is the chip. None of this is coincidental. All of it traces back to one idea: the third place. A place that feels like yours. A place you want to return to. A place that knows your name. Howard Schultz did not build Starbucks by making better coffee than everyone else. He built it by understanding something about human beings that nobody else in the coffee industry had figured out. That what people actually wanted was not a beverage. They wanted somewhere to belong. The numbers that resulted from that insight are almost impossible to process. 1987, Schultz buys Starbucks, 17 locations. 1992, Starbucks goes public, 165 locations. 2000, 3,500 locations worldwide. 2023, over 35,000 locations in 80 countries. At peak growth, Starbucks was opening 7 new stores every single day. 7, every day. Somewhere on Earth, a new Starbucks was opening while you were sleeping. The brand became so embedded in daily life that Starbucks developed its own cultural language. Venti, grande, tall. A sizing system that makes no logical sense and that every regular customer learns and uses automatically, which is exactly the point. Learning the language makes you an insider. Insiders feel a sense of belonging that casual visitors do not. That belonging is what keeps people coming back. By the 2000s, Starbucks was not just a coffee company. It was a cultural institution. The green logo was one of the most recognized symbols on Earth. The seasonal drink launch was an annual cultural event. The loyalty app had more money loaded onto it than many small banks hold in deposits. But something was shifting. Premium independent coffee shops were growing. Blue Bottle, Stumptown, Intelligentsia, places that positioned themselves as everything Starbucks was not. Slower, more precise, genuinely obsessed with coffee quality. Serving a customer who found Starbucks too corporate, too fast, too mass-produced. Starbucks risked becoming the McDonald's of coffee. Dominant, ubiquitous, and fundamentally unexciting to anyone who cared deeply about the product. The answer was the Reserve Roasteries. The first Reserve Roastery opened in Seattle in 2014. It cost $20 million to build. It looked nothing like a Starbucks. Working roastery, specialty coffee bar, retail space selling beans unavailable anywhere else. No standard menu, no drive-through, no mobile ordering. The concept? Take everything Starbucks knew about coffee and show it in full, at a scale and quality level the regular stores could not accommodate. Create a place where coffee was not a commodity, but a genuine craft experience. Today, there are 5 of them. Chicago, 5 floors, 35,000 square feet, the largest Starbucks on Earth. Tokyo, purpose-built by the architect of the Tokyo Olympic Stadium, 121 hand-hammered copper plates in the central cask. A Tivana tea room with 18 different teas. Milan, inside a restored 19th century post office, marble floors, mosaic ceilings, the Princi Italian artisan bakery, Italians lining up around the block on opening day. Shanghai, 30,000 square feet, always packed, lines out the door at peak times. An interactive digital experience that was revolutionary in 2017. New York, in the meatpacking district, 3 floors, an olive oil cake with pistachios in the pastry case. A terrarium recreating Starbucks' own Costa Rican coffee farm. 5 cities, 5 completely different experiences, all built around one idea, that coffee taken seriously is one of the most extraordinary things on Earth. But here's what the Reserve Roasteries actually are from a business perspective. They are not a revenue strategy. 5 locations serving craft cocktails and artisan pastries to tourists and coffee enthusiasts does not move the needle for a company with 35,000 stores. The Reserve Roasteries exist to change how you feel about Starbucks. When you see the Chicago copper cask, or the Tokyo terrace during cherry blossom season, or the Milan marble floors, or the Shanghai lines stretching out the door, something shifts in how you think about the green logo on the cup you buy every morning. The brand stops being a fast food coffee chain and becomes something with craft, depth, and ambition at its highest level. Psychologists call this the halo effect, the extraordinary perception created by 5 extraordinary locations radiates outward and touches all 35,000 ordinary ones. 5 stores make 35,000 stores feel more valuable. The product you cannot easily access makes the product you can access every day feel more meaningful. The $6 latte at your regular Starbucks hits differently when you know that somewhere in Chicago there is a 5-floor cathedral of coffee with a cocktail bar on the 4th floor and a rooftop terrace on the 5th, built by the same people who handed you that paper cup. That feeling is worth more than any revenue those 5 buildings will ever generate. In 1983, a 30-year-old man stood in a Milan espresso bar and saw something that did not exist in America. A place where people belonged. A third place. Warm, personal, unhurried. Not home, not work. Something in between that felt like yours. He went home and spent the rest of his life building it at scale. 35,000 locations, 80 countries, $110 billion. The most recognized coffee brand on earth. A loyalty program with more money on it than some banks. A sizing system that makes no sense that millions of people use every day without questioning it. A seasonal drink that becomes a cultural conversation every autumn without a single paid advertisement. And at the very top of all of it, 5 buildings in 5 cities with no green logo outside and a copper cask inside and a cocktail bar upstairs and cherry blossoms visible from the terrace. The same man who grew up in a Brooklyn housing project, watching his father get discarded by a system that had no room for him, built a system where your name is called out loud in a room full of strangers every morning because he understood that what people actually need, more than caffeine, more than convenience, more than a seasonal drink, is somewhere to belong. That is the psychology behind Starbucks. And that is why it won.